computers were invented half a century, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, people didn't know exactly what they were for, and now they could think of many uses, but it was hard to describe a computer, and the main use of computers seems to be to form a connection between each person and this high voltage main line of information, so you can tap into it the way you tap into an electricity flow. Again, it's flowing information, new information that creates value in the internet economy. Just as it's the motion and momentum of a stream that turns a water wheel, the motion and momentum of the air that turns a windmill or a wind wheel, the current in an electric circuit encountering a resistance that makes it possible to do work. We depend not just on information, but on the flow of information, the trend or direction, not just where the internet is today, what the internet is like right now, but what it's going to be like next week and next year and the next decade. The flow of news, of financial information is what's important. The flow of email, we need the latest email, not the email that was sent 3 weeks ago. The flow of Twitter, tweets, blog posts, Facebook posts, all sorts of activity streams, or as we called them originally, life streams. And of course, the flow of text messages and voicemail and phone calls on a separate physical network, but the same virtual network, are all part of the worldwide cyber flow. Again, it's not just cyberspace, but cyber flow that's important. In the cyber flow view of information on the internet, what matters is not the URL or identity of individual documents. What matters is the identity of streams of information, like channels of television. You identify such a stream by describing it, just as you identify a subset of websites you're interested in by describing them to a web search engine. The old static model of information, the old view of a spider web of digital documents, was a transitional phase, a transitional view of information when computing was new and the internet was new. After all, the World Wide Web, it should make us suspicious that the World Wide Web, which is a software idea, we should think something is wrong when we see the World Wide Web, which is a software idea, has the same shape as the underlying hardware. That suggests that the ideas flowed from the bottom up, that first engineers built the best machines they could, and then software people said, well, we'll do whatever we can, we'll make the most of it. So the internet is lots and lots of computers, of course, connected together, or we might say many computer networks connected together. And similarly, the World Wide Web is many websites connected together, exactly mirroring, exactly reflecting the underlying shape of the hardware. Typical of technology when it's just started. Typical of technology when it's primitive. Typical of technology when it's too new, when we haven't yet figured out what to do with it. When technology is new, the software imitates the hardware. Once we've had time to think, we say the software should be like this, and we tell the engineering guys, just go off and do it. Make it work. We don't care what the underlying machinery looks like. This is what we want the user to see. So that in the early days of computing, of course, people programmed in machine language or assembler language using the low-level primitive instructions that the processor, the Intel processor, the Motorola processor, whatever, could understand directly. Programming was primitive, it reflected the hardware. As the years went by and people came to understand software, They invented ways of programming higher level programming languages and environments that we use today, from Flash to Python to Perl to millions of others that have nothing to do, to Java, that have nothing to do with the machinery, that have to do with the way human beings think. If you use software that looks like a machine, you need to throw it out and get better software. Because software that looks like a machine shows insufficient imagination on the part of the people designing the software. So I think in the internet we're at the point of transition from the low-level web, which is machine language for the internet. The World Wide Web with its websites and URLs is machine language for the internet. We're making the transition to higher level ways to program and understand, so to speak. The model of static digital documents is the old-fashioned machine language. The flow of information, it took people a long time to understand electric current also. It wasn't natural, it wasn't intuitive to begin with, but once they did understand, it was a very powerful and simplifying idea. And I think we'll make that same transition in understanding the internet. I've mentioned this so-called world stream, die Weltstrom. All the information that anyone posts on the internet or sends through the internet, we imagine this. It's a Gedanken experiment. There is no actual such stream, but we imagine all the information that anyone posts on the internet flowing through this single enormous river of data. Users get access to this world stream using any computer, and the computer has two main functions, or we should say the stream browser. Today you have the World Wide Web browser. When there's a stream, you have a higher level stream browser. The two main functions of the stream browser are to put information into the stream, into the world stream, and to get information out of the world stream. You get information out of it in the form of a stream itself, in the form of a smaller stream, in the form of a substream, in the form of one TV channel from among 2,000 TV channels. Except in the world stream, there are vastly many possible streams. Even though we often want, and it's important that we often want the latest information from our colleagues and friends and from news sources, sometimes we also need old information. So I'm certainly not going to say that there is a close analogy between the emerging world stream and the cyber flow and electricity. The analogy is not close, but it is a useful way of speaking. It's not close. We never need old electricity, but we do sometimes need old information. Nobody ever needs to plug something in and say, give me some voltage from 25 years ago because it was better. Never needs to say that, but sometimes we do need to see an email. Usually we need the email that was just sent right now, but sometimes we need to see the email that was sent 2 weeks ago or 2 years ago, or we need to see a photograph that was taken 50 years ago. So the stream has to be a different kind of stream. It's not just a flow of current. What it is, the world stream is a stream of information that lengthens constantly. Gets